I will introduce our amazing speakers. So we have most of the older students have already met at least Monica, because she's been helping us with our lit programming for a really long time. And then a lot of you met Nathan, her brother, when we were at the lit kickoff. So Monica and Nathan, both amazing coaches. They both are college coaches and have been for several years for our students, like the coaches that you're now meeting with, as well as helping develop the curriculum so that y'all are set up for success, both professionally, personally, and academically while you're in school, because we promised not to ditch you and leave you hanging once we got you to these amazing schools together. And you guys did all the hard work to get to where you are. And we want to make sure it's a really valuable and exciting experience now that you're there. So I will let them introduce themselves and like their personal and professional background. And Monica, I'll let you two take it away. I'll let you share your screen.
Yeah, I'll share my screen and we'll hop into it. Be a second here. There we go. All right, can you all see my screen? Okay, cool. All right, so we're here to present on utilizing campus resources. So do some quick intros here. So yes, we are siblings. We're not married. I don't know if you can see the resemblance. But I'm Monica. We obviously both grew up in Santa Barbara, went to DP. I went to Cal Lutheran for college and studied business management and finance. I'm currently at Box Software Company. Some of you may be using it for school. I know it's pretty popular at different schools for storing your content. But I'm working on the engineering, operations, and strategy side of things.
And my name is Nathan Alvarez. I also grew up in Santa Barbara, like Monica said. I went to USC, studied mechanical engineering for bachelor's and master's degrees. Yes, spot on Paige and Anna. Um, and now I work at Rivian as a mechanical engineer. I've been here for a few years and met several of you at the Lit Kickoff. So great to see some familiar faces here, and hopefully we can teach you a thing or two about campus resources.
All right. So quickly over the agenda here, we have a fun icebreaker next, but then we'll kind of jump into the content. I'll let Nathan run that. And then we have a great student panel here of your peers to kind of give you some insight into what worked for them as freshmen. And then we have some time for a breakout session where we can just kind of chat, hear what's working, what's not working currently, and what you may need help on, and just some free time to chat there. Then we'll wrap up with some questions. So pretty good hour and a half, hour 15 with you. So icebreaker here, and we'll pull our upperclassmen panel into this as well. And feel free to drop anything in the chat if you have something to contribute, as well as really throughout the presentation. If you have questions, just drop it there. Paige can collect them to go over at the end. Or anything else that you want to add, totally just open to you dropping in the chat or even coming off mute and just sharing with all of us. So we'll kind of share freshman fail moments. Panel, Nathan, maybe I'll pass it over to you to share first. You can come back around to me.
Okay, yeah, I can get started. Yeah, I had several fails freshman year, but I can share one. I remember I rode my skateboard to class throughout college. And this was like week 3 in the year. I was skating to class and cruised on past some of my classmates. And I like vaguely recognized them. We'd met the week before, waved. I was like, see you guys in class. They waved back. And then I immediately hit an acorn with my wheel and I flew off my board and like launched onto the ground. And they were all laughing. I turned back and I was like, oh, well, see you in class. And then I grabbed my board and like scurried away. And then later we became friends, so it was fine. But that was tough to overcome week like probably 3 of the year.
Sorry. Hey, Monica, can you stop sharing for a second just so we can see the percentage? Yeah. Okay, you want me to call on people? Okay, Christine, you can go first.
Right away, I think back of like freshman orientation week. During the week of just trying to make as many friends as possible and speak to as many people as possible. And I was in a student center and I like went up and asked someone like, oh, what dorm you live in? What are you studying? And then I figured out I was actually a staff member who was like 40 years old, but she looked so young. Yeah.
That's pretty epic. Anna, do you have one you want to share?
Yeah. So my roommates and I are notorious for leaving our water bottles in our lecture rooms. So my roommate and I had physics or like first semester, and she left her water bottle, and I was like, oh, I'm right next to the class. I'll just go pick it up. Well, I didn't know how fast the other lecture time, because it was an 8 a.m. class. So like I didn't really know like how many people would show up to an 8 a.m. or past an 8 a.m. class. And so I went into the lecture to go get the water bottle, and I got the water bottle and I opened the door, and it was just full of people in like a big, like, like those like SLH, like physics rooms. They were full, and it was lights dark, and I opened the door, and the light just beamed into the dark room. And it was an improv class, and I was like, I just got to commit. So then I just sat down and was there for like the whole 2 hour lecture talking about improv. That was pretty fun.
That's an amazing story. I love it. Okay, let's do Vanessa. Can you share one? And then I'll do full intros of like who these people are if you don't know them already once we get a little bit further.
Okay, so my freshman year was on Zoom, so I don't really have any funny stories like on campus or anything. But I guess a fail that have had in college has been just like failing an exam. And it was I think I've talked to Katie about it. It was my first time like kind of just failing like a nursing exam. So I was like, oh gosh, like this is tough. But yeah, that's one of my experiences that I've had as a fail.
And were you still able to continue school and,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, I it was still got through the course, kind of challenging, kind of tough course, but still was able to pass the class.
Look at that. There we go. I love it. All right, Alvaro, you're last about other than Monica.
Oh, so mine is like really, really embarrassing. So my freshman year, instead of going to my advanced Spanish class, I went into advanced French. And by the time I realized it, it was like too embarrassing to leave. And so I introduced myself. I'm like, Je m'appelle Alvaro. And so I said the entire class, and then I just think about it time to time, just like how embarrassing, because I didn't understand anything they were saying for like an hour. So I was just there in the corner, just pretending. I was like nodding my head and everything, like, yeah, we,
I like how you guys just committed. Like you just stayed in the classes. I would have just like ran away. That's amazing. For me, it's like it's been so long. I'm so old now, but I feel like I just remember the first weeks of like I didn't want to like forget where my classes were or anything. So I would just like go walk around the campus before a ton. I went to the wrong TA hours, like not even my class. And it's just, I definitely did not stay. I like left out of there and just like pretended it didn't happen and just like things like that. But it's just awkward. I think we can just admit like the first few weeks are just so awkward. And it's like you're just sitting in the awkwardness for a few weeks, but then it gets better, right? So that's the good part, and it's hopefully just freshman year or just the first couple of weeks of your new classes and meeting new people. And I just remembered I'm like everyone's new and everyone feels awkward, so that makes me feel a lot better about myself and just like whatever I'm saying, which probably doesn't make sense to anyone, but whatever. So okay, I think that's all the panelists, so why don't we let me reshare my screen and we'll get into some of the icebreaker or the content here. Just move my Zoom bar. Okay, cool. Nathan, I'll let you kind of take this away then.
Awesome. Sounds good. Um, yeah, so wanted to basically give a high-level overview of resources to look out for on campus. Some of these will be able to be utilized right away off the bat, freshman year. Some are just more to keep an eye on later on. Going to try to keep this as little lecture-like as possible. And then we'll get into the fun part, which will be the panel where you can speak to actual current students, and they'll have much better content to share about their current experiences. But like I said, first wanted to give kind of broad, high level advice that can hopefully be applicable to all your different schools. I know you're all at a wide range of schools. If there's one thing that you get out of my time speaking here, it's probably go to office hours. I cannot emphasize enough the value of office hours. Your professors are basically your closest connection to the campus, and they can end up being your best resource on campus. Oftentimes, the professors have. Ooh, just reading the chat. Okay, cool. Oftentimes, the professors have connections to the outside world. So I personally in college got several internship connections through professors that had past students reach out to them that are now working in the industry that said, "Hey, looking for a person to fill these positions. Do you know any students that you're working with?" And having that connection with the professor really gets you a leg up career-wise, and then obviously course-wise. If you're on the border of a B plus and A minus, the professors are going to lean towards the students they know, the students they like, and the students that work a lot with them and have shown that they are interested in the topic, interested in the class, and want to be there. So biggest thing I could say is go to office hours. And with that come with questions. You want to, even if you feel like you understand everything in the class, it still can be really beneficial if you think of some of the research topics that the professor is working on and ask them about that, or other topics outside of the curriculum, to just have questions to engage with the professor with. Kind of similar thing with the TAs. And then just quick note here about utilizing tutoring centers across campus. Sometimes there's separate tutoring resources in different departments. So just wanted to add that to look out for specific math tutoring if you need that, writing tutoring. Sometimes they're not within your school's department, but will be in the humanities department. And it's just something you can keep an eye out. Study spots just don't do the same table in the same library every night, can get boring. So this is just a little plug to go explore campus and the different libraries that are offered there. Monica, anything you wanted to add?
I think just to your point with like meeting your professors and TAs and just go to office hours. There's been so many times where I went and they like gave me hints on like what's coming up on the test, or like, hey, you should like really study this topic because it might be on the test. Like, and then of course it's on the test. So just go, like, even if you feel like you do understand everything, like Nathan said, it's just forming the connection, and they'll think of you for opportunities that may come up. And especially for the B plus A minus, to push you over the edge. If they know your face and they know you're trying and you're interested, they're like way more likely to do that. So yeah, I think that's it from my side.
Okay. And yeah, to that point, it can make you a much more efficient studier because it'll tell you what to study. So you're not trying to remember every single thing from the semester. Study groups, just wanted to mention that. Obviously, it's a lot easier to get through the courses when you're doing it with a group of people and you're not all on your own. So just make sure that you find other people within your major to work through problems with and help each other. If you're interested in research, generally the process is it can be as simple as Googling your school and research. You can USC research, for example, and you can see a list of professors, what research they're doing. And that can be as simple as emailing professors. And that can start as early as freshman year, and letting them know that you're interested in learning more about their research, setting up a meeting, and basically then just learning more about what they're doing and how you can contribute as a freshman or later on in college. So if that's something you're interested in, don't feel like you need to wait for an invitation. You can definitely take the initiative to find research in all sorts of topics across campus. Career-wise, question there? No. All right. Career-wise, I wanted to mention using campus career centers or department career centers. Oftentimes I found the most useful were industry events. If that exists within your department or within your school, several times they would have actual employers come to do resume reviews or cover letter reviews and give you very targeted advice. So I'd say just want to look out for those types of targeted employer events on campus to help establish yourself within the company. You can start learning recruiters' names, start meeting people from these companies and they recognize you as they start coming back to campus, and then can help with your career plans and progression and resume workshops.
Yeah, I think on this, something I wanted to call out was also a lot of these study groups. Of course, yes, you're studying together, you're all trying to get a good grade, but it forms connection and relationships that could be new friends. I know it's awkward to make new friends, everyone's new, so it could kind of be a double whammy there. Is you get a study and then maybe you make some friends in like a more natural way too, where everyone's struggling and they're trying to get better together. It can just turn into something more there.
Yeah, and going off of that, fight the awkwardness for clubs and involvements. They all seem super awkward, super weird at first. I remember I always hated going to club meetings alone. And then I would always feel guilty if I didn't like the club. So then that would make me not want to go to other club meetings because I said, well, what if I don't like it and I only go once? And then I'm going to see them around campus and they're all going to point at me and hate me and say that kid's the loser that bailed. But that didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. And it's totally normal for people to go shop around different clubs at the beginning of the year, even throughout the year, and try things out, realize they don't like it, and that's totally fine. The only way to find what you do like is by trying a bunch of different involvement. So can't stress enough, try new hobbies, meet new people, or continue old hobbies. If you can find a soccer club if that's what you're into. But that's just a great way to meet people and get out, especially as you're starting out your journey. Some of you are a couple months in now. It makes it easier the more people you know and the more involvements that you keep wanting to get involved with. And so also don't feel like there's a deadline. Like, oh, I'm 2 months in, I can't join a new club, I can't try a new hobby. You can join anytime in the year. Just if you ever get bored, try to find something new to do.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of schools, there's a lot of free activities too, like whether it's a club or just free outings from different groups. Like it's free fun, definitely take advantage of it. Also, I was in recruiting before my current role, and getting involved in clubs, like maybe you join when you're a freshman, then maybe when you're a junior or senior, you get a leadership position. That's something you can talk about in your interviews for full-time roles after, for internships or even just post-college. Like, we know you're graduating from college. We don't expect you to have years of experience, but we want you to talk about, the time you had a leadership role, or we're proactive about taking on that type of role too. So you can definitely do that with clubs. I did that with triathlon club when I was in school. It was a small club, but guess what? They still had funding. So I could use the funding basically for whatever I wanted because there weren't as many people. And then all of a sudden I was president of triathlon club, and I definitely talked about that and put it on my resume for jobs post-college. So it could be a good and something just to talk about in the future too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's it. So on to health then.
Yeah. This one just wanted to note, how important it is to learn about the health resources on campus now, early on, before you need them, or you're in a crisis, or you're sick, or having a meltdown, or whatever. Um, you want to know, basically, this is just a quick note that can really encourage all of you to find out what resources exist on your campus. Write them down, put the phone numbers in your phone, save pins on Google Maps. It can be as simple as I have strep throat and I really don't want to figure out where to go right now. I wish I already had that information. Um, so I recommend you get all that information now, know where to get a prescription, know where to find a doctor, know what crisis numbers to call if you needed, what counseling resources exist on campus. Just want to You want to get all that information now ahead of time, and then that way it makes it as easy as possible to use them when you need them.
Yep. I think that's it. So yeah, we'll move into the student panel now. Let's just take a moment to intro our lovely panelists, and then we'll get into some questions here. Paige, do you want to intro?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks, Monica and Nathan. Again, we wanted that to be a overview, and like that was such a helpful guide that you can refer back to. We're going to send you these slides or follow up with questions either to me or in the chat. We want to spend most of our time talking to our amazing students. So we've got Alvaro, who's at UC Davis as gosh, you're a sophomore now, right? Year 2, exciting. Okay, and then Anna is at USC. Fight on, I'm not biased or anything. Oh my gosh, I forgot about these stupid, sorry, the reactions thing. I don't know how to turn them off, and I've been trying all day, and that was really funny. Okay, there's my freshman fail moment. Anyways, Christine is at Brown. I know a lot of you worked with Christine during your application, so you already know how wonderful she is. And then Vanessa is part of our pilot program. So she's an OG Mission Scholars in our group of 10, and she is in her senior year, graduating next fall in nursing. So we've got students, we try to find a student breadth around public schools, private schools, California schools, we've got East Coast schools. So really a breadth of different experiences, big schools, big city, small city. So hopefully that y'all can relate to a lot of our students in different ways. So I will kick it off to Monica and Nathan to ask them some questions. And just a reminder, these questions are all based off of the questions you had in the lit panel. We really are guiding all of these sessions on what you want to know. And so as there's things that come up, write down things like, "Ooh, I want to do a panel," or "I have questions about this," and send them to me and we'll incorporate it.
Cool. Thanks, Paige. So yeah, we have quite a few questions to get through. Some are kind of aimed at different panelists, but panel, if you feel passionate about answering a question, definitely answer it. And to the rest of the crew, if you have a question, feel free to come off mute or put it in the chat as well that maybe relates to some of the ones we have here. But to kick off, we'll kick off with you, Anna. So where did you look for tutoring help?
So I'm currently a junior, studying mechanical engineering. So I go to tutoring office hours or just like extra help on a daily basis because so my freshman year, transitioning from like high school, not really studying for like math, like it coming easy to me, to like college where like it was a challenging and rigorous course. Like I was not like really challenged in high school. And so now having like this challenge and this pressure, I was kind of unaware of like how to sort of like go about the situation. And then reaching out to some friends, mentors, and teachers, I was able to like find a good like study balance between tutoring and like doing like self-studying and then studying with groups or like studying at certain centers. And I feel like that really helped me understand different types of content that were challenging to me my freshman year and still now.
Nice. Yeah, I just want to point out like that transition from high school to college and the studying, it's like, oh, these classes are a lot harder than high school all of a sudden. So kudos to you for looking for help right away. Nathan, I'll let you take the next one.
Yeah, this one's for Vanessa. What study skills did you find the most helpful?
So I made like a list before coming to this meeting of what I thought was like the most helpful for me that I still use like now in my courses. I think for me, one of the main things was like planning ahead of like breaking out my studying. So like I would plan ahead like like a week in advance, depending on how much material was being presented for the exam. I would like to break down like I'm going to study these chapters this day, the next day I'll study this, because that helped me be like prevent being like burnt out and prevent me from like stressing out about studying like last minute. So that was really helpful for me. Also something that really helped me, especially with nursing like exams, was using like active recall studying methods. So like I would create questions, or I still create questions like based off the slides, off all my notes that I have, and then I test myself. And I like to speak out loud. So I usually would like test myself speaking out loud, like if I was talking to someone. So that's really helpful for me. And using repetition really helps, like just saying it as many times until you get it. Also like using a whiteboard. I use a whiteboard. I take that whiteboard everywhere with me, just to study. I make like I highlighting also, like with the questions I make, I highlight in different colors, like questions that I need to test myself more on, or that I somewhat know, or things I really do know. So that kind of just helps me kind of organize my studying and the things that I need to really focus on more. And also kind of just helps me understand like doing the questions helps me kind of just understand more of the material rather than just like repeating it. Like I tried to understand why or how that concept relates to the other question that I'm going to study. Um, Something else, I think it was mentioned too in our slides, that using a study room can be really helpful. That is my place to study. It has a whiteboard, it's quiet, and I get to speak out loud. And there's like no one, I'm not bothering anyone, no one's bothering me. So that's really helpful. And then also another skill that's really helpful, and I know it's also mentioned, is using the study groups. I For my nursing courses, I always study usually with the classmate of mine, and we test each other with the questions. And also find maybe a classmate that kind of uses the same studying method as you, because I know that sometimes some studying methods don't work for everybody. So having a group that study the same way as you is really helpful, because then you're not wasting your time just being there. You actually understanding the material, and you get to jump off each other's ideas. And it helps you just study more, helps you review what you already studied by yourself too, and then you can share your more ideas with them. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks so much. I love the whiteboard comment. Whiteboards are great. I never even thought to bring a personal one around. That's great. That's awesome. I would always go to the library and use the big ones. But that's a great tip. I love that.
I throw Jason
I
on
have
the spot. When I went to visit him, I know he found a really great study room already at Berkeley, but it was an OG study room and has chalkboards. And we tried to go buy chalk and could not find any. So I like the whiteboard. Maybe we got to get more personal whiteboards. Maybe we'll need to get this development committee to give all the students whiteboards next year. That's awesome. All right,
Definitely.
I interrupted you.
It's all right. So adding on to like study groups, a lot of organizations like student orgs or like just any clubs do a lot of study nights together where they like can bring food, they bring snacks, and you're able to like join with your friends or just with people in the same major as you. And I go to those personally a lot. I'm actually going to go to one after this meeting for engineering. So I just like, and it's also a good way to like get invested in like clubs and meet different people from different backgrounds that you wouldn't have like really known. So I feel like going to those type of study lounges or study groups is like pretty cool with like clubs.
How did y'all find out about those? I think that's something I have heard students say. It's like, oh, I want to go to a study group, but like, where do I even learn about that?
For me, it was so for freshman orientation, there's those like club and organization things. Like those like involvement fair things with clubs. And a lot of them like tell you straight off the bat, like, oh yes, if you join, like we have like fun general meetings where different types of companies come and talk to us, but we also have these like study nights, or we have like nights for like mental health, where we like pot like succulents if you want. So I feel like asking those questions during like club fairs are really good, and that's like a way to like kind of get like aware of what's on campus.
Agreed. Never turn down free food. Whenever they have food, I remember it was always the best. All right, Monica.
Yeah, we'll go to the next question here. So this one's for Alvaro. How did you prioritize your mental health?
So for me, like going well, not really that far away, but like far away enough from Santa Barbara where I can't come back to for the weekends, just like being away from my family. I always like called them, but it wasn't enough. So I found that I had to, well, not had to, but I wanted to make friends early on. Just for me, because being social is very important for most of us, for all of us. It should, well, for yeah. And so I found friends. I found that, call me basic, but I love going to coffee shops. It's just like the whole aesthetic, the smell, the taste, trying different coffee is just so good. And I would like study with my group of friends that I made, but oftentimes I would like chit chat with them for hours on end instead. So it's like finding like those little things that like, you didn't think you were going to do at the beginning because you were like so scared. Like finding them like what really made me like comfortable here on campus, just seeing friends or like acquaintances from campus, from classes around campus, just waving at them, like going to lunch sometimes, like that like really made me feel like, oh, I know people here, it's fine. And so that made like my anxiety, especially because a lot of the classes were like I wasn't expecting the level of difficulty at some of the classes. So that made it like that anxiety so much better.
Yeah, I love that you found like kind of this new hobby, but then people who also enjoy that. And you're so right. It's like you start to feel more and more comfortable. Obviously, the more people you meet and see them around campus and going to the same areas and starting to notice the same people, and it definitely helps. Anyone else want to hop into this one? Maybe one thing I'll add to is making sure you're making space to take care of yourself and whatever that is. So if you need to go for a walk or to the gym or go get a pastry or whatever it is, just make sure you have time for that. And I know school's stressful, but mental health so important. And if you're not taking care of yourself, like how are you going to perform in any other way? So super important there to try to balance out the stress as much as possible with some fun activities too.
Yeah, and I'll add if you played a sport in high school, it can be a big change going from exercising every day to not doing that at all. So definitely try to find an avenue to exercise, whether that's through a club, going on runs or whatnot. But I remember when I'd get most stressed, I would always ask myself when was the last time I went for a run or went for a walk, and it was always way too long. And so that's always was a big change for me, not having that high school sport on my schedule every day. So definitely try to do that. We can go on to this next one. This will go back to Alvaro, but I'll give you a break and ask Christine first. How did you adjust to living in the dorms, and how did you overcome homesickness?
I would say adjusting to the dorms is a big transition for me. I'm very much an introvert, so being surrounded by people 24/7 was a lot. So with that, I very much tried to do a lot of like individual time. Like I want to emphasize that it's very good to eat on your own. I think a lot of freshmen are afraid to do that. So go to the dining hall by yourself, walking around by yourself, very good. Your you time. And then I believe the second question is about homesickness.
Yeah, how did you overcome homesickness?
I think for me, homesickness hit around like the 1 month mark, because I think the summer camp vibes start to go away as the assignments started piling up. And what helped me the most is a lot of times that during my walks to class or to the dining hall, I would just go down the list of my family, like who have I not spoken to, as my like walking entertainment. So that helped me feel very connected with them, as well as connecting with other people that are maybe of like far from home, like other out of state students or like or students that are like a few hours away from home, because you kind of are experiencing similar feelings, because it might not be so easy telling your parents this, especially if they told you like that's why you shouldn't leave. So yeah, so don't be afraid of like opening up. But yeah, definitely. I think using my family as my entertainment during my walks have helped me a lot.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I think that's great. Both of those points, having me time is definitely very important. Um, Starting out can be socially exhausting, as I'm sure all of you are realizing already. So that is great to take that time to yourself as needed. And I agree, going on walks to call people is a great way to do two things at once. I was going to say kill two birds at one stone, but they're not forced. Um, Alvaro, same questions to you. How did you adjust to living in the dorms, and how did you overcome homesickness?
For me, it took a while, just because originally I was going to be in a double, but because most of the UCs are like really heavily impacted, they moved me into a triple instead. So my desk was like crammed between two other beds. And so I barely had like any space. And so for that, it took me a while to overcome. But when I first got there, I decided to make like ground rules with my roommates because otherwise I wouldn't like survive just because all their stuff was everywhere and so was mine. So just like having rules with roommates was definitely really important for me, just because hair can get everywhere too, especially because the communal bathrooms for me were like all gender, so there was always long hair. So I just sometimes I went into my friend's apartment to shower just because there wasn't that much hair in that one. But also for overcoming homesickness, just calling my family over time, like it sometimes it hits you like waves. Like some days you're fine, other days you like really want to go back home if it's like a family member's birthday or like it's an important day for you to remember. So those days definitely do happen. And those days I just call my mom or FaceTime my cat. That especially helps if you have pets, FaceTiming them. It's like really adorable just seeing what they're up to. And so yeah, just make sure like, you're not remembering that you're not alone when you're in campus, but you're also, you're going to come back at the end of the summer or at winter break. So just, if like tough it out or just, like you'll survive. That's what my mentality was, and it worked.
Thanks. Yeah, that's great. And I like the setting ground rules with the roommates is very important as well. Good point.
Who was shocked with the state of like something like dorm room or bathrooms? Like either raise your hand or put your hand up in the chat. Who was surprised? So nobody, I can tell, right? It looks like, oh, everybody. Yeah. Okay. So you're not alone there. Does everyone have their shower flip-flops? All right.
Good. I'm seeing some nods.
Yeah. I like your point too of like knowing it's gonna pass, like you're gonna be okay. And it's really hard in the moment, and you can acknowledge it's really hard and you're really missing your family, but you're gonna get over it, you're gonna be okay, and you'll be able to deal with it better the next time it kind of hits you. So yeah, great points there. All right, so this is for Anna and Christine. So how did you get to know your new city?
I can go first. So, USC's in LA, so a lot of people know like LA. I'm just like, oh, it's LA, like it'll be easy to get around and like understand things. But when I first got here, like meeting new people and then finding a group of people to like do things with can kind of be hard sometimes, especially like if it's like your first week. So I say like first, like your initial people that you're surrounded with are like your roommates or your like initial classmates, and I feel like creating a bond with them first will make it easier to like sort of venture out into like off campus sort of things, or just like even on campus things. Like there can always be like school events or just like club events too. And for me it was easy because my roommate was a LA native, like she's a local, so she knew a lot of good spots. And USC is just so versatile with like transportation. We got the metro, we got free lifts and stuff that just made it easier to like explore around campus. And yeah, that's what I think. And oh, also I thought that being in LA would kind of be like limiting because Santa Barbara, it's so close to Santa Barbara. I'm like, oh, I already know like LA because Santa Barbara is so close. But I like I'm just like learning new like places and like coffee shops and just attractions that I've never even thought of. Like I'd be scrolling on like Instagram or TikTok and be like, oh, these are cool hidden things in LA. And I'm like, oh, we should totally go there. Just getting like introduced through friends or just through social media and not being afraid of like stepping off campus. And I know like as a freshman, like you want to be like in your little bubble, like trying not to venture out too much into it because it's still like unfamiliar territory, being away from your family. But I would encourage to like just explore around with like a small group of people first, and then from there maybe do solo trips or just constant trips with like your friends.
I think for me, what really helped is right off the bat during freshman orientation, one of the programs that I was in was emphasizing how important it is to get off of like the literal hill that my school's on. So for part of orientation, we did walking tours with this program to get to know like the surrounding cities. So we also had like people that were native to the city showing us around. We got to see some of like the local elementary schools that were potential like volunteer sites in this program. And I'd also say a lot of times during the weekends freshman year, my friends and I would just walk like not with like a destination in mind, but just like walk around the surrounding areas and seeing like what we would find. That's how my friend group and I figured out like a festival that happens every single fall. There's like a street fair with a bunch of really nice vendors and bunch of knickknacks and food. Very much reminds me of Gilmore Girls when we found it. So we've gone every single year since then. And then figuring out how to use the public transportation was also very interesting. Because sometimes like I never really used the train before coming here, but now I'm just able to go to Boston very easily for like there's like a weekend pass where it's like $10, very cheap. So then I was also able to see Boston, the city right next to me. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, those are all great. Thanks for sharing. Vanessa and Anna, this is for you. We were curious, what department resources did you find the most helpful? Anna, if you want to get started.
Yeah, I can go first. Okay, so being an engineer, I going into the USC, I never really like took physics, and physics is a big part of being a mechanical engineer. So I thought that would set me off by a lot when like compared to my like peers. But going to like the math center and going to my physics teacher's office, I was really helped. I was able to understand the concept when talking to someone, and I feel like talking to someone or talking through something with someone rather than just like reading it and like rereading it, it just doesn't like it just helps like understand like how you take in knowledge or how you're able to sort of educate other people with the knowledge that you're learning, because you're going to have to do that in the real world either way. And I find those resources really helpful with like teachers, because you see them every day when you go to lectures, so might as well develop a good connection with them. And who knows, they can also be your letter of rec like my physics teacher was. And another resource I used was the writing center. I know I'm an engineer, but we have to take a lot of writing classes too. That comes with like being an engineer and with technical writing. And because like I studied so much for like my STEM related courses, I didn't really feel confident in my writing. And so going to the writing center really helped me like understand new persuasive like statements, or like how to write some stuff, and then how to like relate to your audience while also trying to like invoke your feelings of like what you want from your paper. And I feel like going to those were really good.
Awesome, thanks. And look at that. She mentioned the math center, writing center, both resources outside of her department. Those are in the humanities department and office hours. Checking all the boxes. Love it.
Mhm.
Vanessa, any department resources that you found most helpful?
Um, I like all the resources that Anna mentioned. Office hours were the most helpful for me. You get to ask all your questions, that you get to like go over exam questions that you got wrong, and then you're gonna need to know maybe for the next test. So that's really helpful. Yes, the writing center for sure. Like I'm gonna go next week, I think, to get an essay read. Um, so that's really helpful. Yeah.
Vanessa, any
Awesome.
healthcare specific resources that you've found or anything you'd say to, I know we have a lot of students in this cohort that are going into healthcare like you are. So any advice you'd give to the healthcare students that are on the call for utilizing their resources on campus?
Academic advisor for nursing students only. That's really helpful. They get to just like really, you get to ask them all the questions about the courses, but also help you create schedules so that you're not overloading with such heavy material courses. Because they're gonna know like you can maybe do this class with this class, so you're not doing too many difficult classes at the same time. So that's also really helpful.
That's really good advice and actually applicable probably for everybody too, to meet with your advisors and kind of balance your course load so you don't get totally overwhelmed and then bored the next semester.
Yeah, that's a great one. Some academic advisors were not helpful and some were amazing. So try to find the amazing ones and use them.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. I'll say Alvaro and Christine, how did you make new friends? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. But maybe just, how did you meet new people and form those connections?
Okay, so definitely talking to people in orientation, the group that made for me at least it was majors. And I don't know if you guys know a lot of the stereotype about history majors, like history men majors specifically, about how they, like to ask a lot of questions. And because of that, like the orientation went for so long. So I went with a group of like other people of some people. We went away, we went to a coffee shop and we talked for a couple hours there, and that's how I made my first friends. And then during classes I would just talk to the person next to me, be like, hey, I don't know anybody in this class, do you want to maybe share email so we could talk about stuff about the class? And I'm still friends with some of those people still. We actually, because of that, I found some people who are in the same majors as me, and we're taking a lot of the same classes together so we can study together in the future. So it's also like finding friends, but also finding people who you can study with too, because that's also a really helpful resource.
Also a lot of my close friends are also from orientation. One of my best friend I met from orientation. As well as what I think is really helpful. I just went to a department specific event, like a community event where we were painting pumpkins. So going to those, like whichever major you're in, and looking, they usually host community events maybe like once a month. You're able to meet people in your major that you may not have known. Both younger, older, your grades. You get some mentorship from the older people and learn to people that in your grade. And I absolutely love those events. So like I said, it was a pumpkin painting event and we watched Coraline. They gave us free food. So definitely recommend looking into the resources within your department. It's also a really good community space. Like if there's like a building dedicated or a space dedicated for studying, and that can also help you in networking if you're a common face in that department. I think what also I would really recommend is if you are in a class with someone and you think that there could be a potential friendship, not being afraid to say like, do you want to get lunch together or like a meal? Because let's say you end up not liking that person, that's just 30 minutes or so. You don't have to see them again. So I think just having like those little like meal dates with people would be very helpful as well.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, especially if you have a class kind of around lunchtime, it's like ends at 12, people are walking to the cafeteria. You're just like, hey, oh, you're in my class. And then you're eating together, or like vice versa, you're walking from the dining hall to like a 1 p.m. class. It's just like an easy in there to make a connection.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Anna, yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
I have to add on to that. So like Alvaro and Christine were saying, like events, like school events are a nice way to get to know people. And for me, I got to know a lot of people through the Welcome Week events here at USC. It's like a whole week. I'm pretty sure every university has like a whole week dedicated for like students to interact with other students, like not even regarding their like major or year. And I found that really nice because I got to talk to people who I wouldn't like really talk to in my classes or in my major. And then also good ways of finding friends is like in high school you have hobbies and you can continue those hobbies in college. It just doesn't stop. So like get like expressing yourself in those hobbies again, but just in college. Like for me, it was in soccer. At first I was like very scared to like go play soccer with some people and like make new friends, but I like gained some courage to do so, and now like I'm like the most social person on campus on Fridays. I host like soccer games. I love like getting to know new people, like international students, just people from the community. And I find that like really nice. Like me being like so scared freshman year to like me being the most outgoing and like very like talkative person now, I find very cool. So I encourage all of you guys to like just continue your hobbies, but like disregard like being like too like self-cautious about like, oh, I don't really know these people and I don't know how they're gonna view me type of thing. Just like that goes out the window. You need to be outgoing in college.
That's awesome. I love that. That kind of answers this next one. Wanted to do a quick rapid fire across the panel of what orgs or clubs or activities did you join for social fun? It's okay if it's a repeat. You could play soccer again. Um, but yeah, so if we want to start, Christine.
When I growing up I did ballet, so I had like a big gap of doing that, so I started doing that again last year, so that's been really fun. People don't take it as serious as it was growing up, so I enjoy it a lot better now. So that's really fun. um I think that's like the main like social fun, and I guess my other clubs are more like academic-y. I'm in Students for Education Equity. And then another thing that really helps me with making like sustaining consistent like relationships was I'm involved in like a 4-year fellowship here of a cohort, where it's like a cohort experience. So just being able to sustain that community. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Anna, anything else you wanted to mention for fun?
Yeah, so I find being in college, it's just about us like trying to find a balance between academics and our social lives. So clubs and like just any extracurriculars are a way of an outlets of like finding a balance between that. So in that like my like academic hobby is like cars. I love automation, so I joined the Formula racing team in my school, and that's like me like sharing my interest in both racing and like getting to know like, oh, mechanical engineers like build cars, but I also want to know like different types of components and how it goes into that. But also like I'm just not solely focused on like just pure major like related courses. So like soccer is an outlet for me to like distance myself from academics, because sometimes academics can be so hard and like overwhelming that you need an outlet that's more social. And I find like joining clubs like that. I'm currently joining a dancing club. I do not dance at all, but I find it like my friends motivated me to join a dance club because we've been so stressed lately with midterms coming up and or passing that we're like, we need a goofy outlet, so let's just join a dance club. So I find that pretty cool.
That's great. Awesome. Thanks. Vanessa?
For me, like I joined a club that's only for like Latinos and Latinas that we get to do like fun activities and like go I do like fun like uh on campus. So there's like we sometimes I think last week there was like a kickoff event and there was I think they had like foods from all different types of cultures. I'm also part of another like academic program where we get to like even though they provide like the tutoring and academic support and workshops and stuff like that, they still also plan trips for students. So like last year there was a trip to Disneyland, also like different events like sports game as well. So that's also what I joined.
Perfect. Thank you. Alvaro, you want to close this one out?
Yeah, I also, similar to Anna, I also joined a club that's like both like academic and also for like fun. So I have like an interest in chess. I love playing chess in all throughout high school, but it it takes a lot of time too. And so I joined a chess club. My reasoning was that it's fun for me, but it also gets me thinking because it's like a very analytical game. So it's like both like a balance for both like, academics, but also like having fun at the same time. And so that takes up like a lot of my afternoons, I have to say.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. That's it for the panel. Now, quickly want to do a breakout session, which Paige, go ahead
All
and
right.
take it away.
Yes, I think I have. Let me double check. I think I did it. I'm very proud of myself. Okay, I have assigned all of you to breakout rooms. They are roughly equal number of students in each one. Let me just double check. I'm
I'm gonna share some of the questions too really quickly.
want to share your screen really quick. Okay, so within the breakout rooms, these are some questions that Monica, Nathan, and I were chatting about for y'all to talk about. So I don't know, Monica, if you're able to copy paste it into the chat so that everybody has it. And then I think all of us present, all of the staff members, so me, Monica, Nathan, Katie, you all have that deck. But we want to be able to see your faces. So everyone's going to be put into a breakout room, and please turn on your camera for this part. You're going to be chatting with your peers, right? So like this is a fun way to like say hey to people that you haven't seen in a little bit, and like we're going to use this space. So stand up, you can take a breath, stretch for a second, and then join the breakout room. We'll talk kind of for 15 minutes. This is your safe zone to ask those awkward questions you haven't wanted to ask anybody else, whatever you need. Like this is a safe place to ask those questions. So I'm gonna open all the breakout rooms. You can go ahead and join, and we'll see you later. We'll see you back here. Hi. I'm just checking all the groups to make sure that it's working. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Kashef. Hi, Jimena. I'm glad you're here. I'm gonna switch groups quick. Christine, you all good here? To kind of just chat through some of those questions. You want me to ping them to you again?
Yes, please.
Gotcha. I was like, oh, those are not gonna save in there, are they? Okay, so I'm gonna go do this to all the other groups too. Jenny, are you able to join?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So this is a space with like some people that you know to just talk about, check in, how you're doing, or ask Christine any questions. So I will pop back in a little bit if y'all need anything. Sound good, Christine?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, I've got to figure out how to leave this room. Oh yeah, I found it. Bye.
I moved in like August 15th, so I think that's like 6 weeks, right, Jocelyn?
Yeah, I think a little more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a couple months then. How are you all settling in? How's it going? Is it fun? Is it scary? All of the above.
It's definitely different. I'm a spring admit, so I technically haven't started USC classes yet,
Mhm.
but I'm still like next to campus, so it's definitely a little interesting. Um, I have made some friends and I like my roommates and stuff. We like chose each other beforehand and they're also spring admits, but it's been fun for sure.
Good.
Jenny, what's one thing you'll take away from tonight that you're gonna follow up on that you're excited about?
Wait, me?
Mhm.
Oh, well, I know this my school has like a writing center too, and like I was going to this like cohort like meeting that I have every week, and they were like talking about that, and I guess I'm gonna go to it more, cause yeah.
Yeah, it's really smart. And you've heard it from multiple people, so it must be the real deal. Sometimes like it's one thing when me or Katie says something and we're like, do this, do that. And you're like, yeah, cool, whatever. So it's really nice getting some of our older students in here and Monica and Nathan. And they're like, they were local Santa Barbara students just like you once upon a time, not that long ago. We don't need to keep aging ourselves. All right. But anyways, I think it's important to hear from like students that have gone through Mission Scholars and like your peers, like they dealt with a lot of the similar things that some of you are experiencing it with, and like you're not alone. And like even the things that feel like I don't know what's happening here, like you've got people who have your back. Monica and Nathan, I'm going to pass it to you.
Yeah, I think here I'll share my screen. Oops.
Oh, thank you.
Just wanted to go over the next steps and great breakout rooms. Like it sounds like you're all experiencing all the things, but getting through it gracefully. So it was good to hear.
Yeah, I can do this one. Okay, so classic page move. Here's your homework. So everyone get out a piece of paper, a pen, your notes, something to write on. Do we have all the breakout rooms back here? We do, right? Okay, cool. So we want you to work on 3 things that you plan to explore based on this meeting and send them to me and your coach to talk about in your next coaching call. So I'll give you till the end of the week. I would recommend just do it now. You're sitting here anyways. Just write a little email, put it in your drafts and just say, all right, something social, something professional, and something health related that you want to do over the next month. Anybody have one that they want to share either in the chat or like something that they took away from this meeting that was really helpful? And then I'm going to let you go early because y'all are busy.
I plan on going to, so in our school, we have something called the Glavin Global Fellows Program, which you can research abroad. And so I want to make an appointment with that department, like as soon as possible, so I can talk to them about that. I met with my advisor about it, but I need to talk to them so I can get that going. That's what I plan to do now.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If study abroad's important to you, it was to me. That's like partly why I chose my school, honestly, is like go talk about what's possible with your major and like what financial support there is to make it happen early on if it's something that you really want to do. So, Anna, did you have a point too?
Yeah, I recently just came back from a study abroad opportunity over the summer. So
Nice.
being an engineer at USC, it's kind of really hard to do study abroad because STEM and like finding all your classes and graduating within 4 years is super hard. But finding like those like loopholes, I think, are really nice for study abroad because it was such a rewarding like experience. Like I was able to go to Japan, I was able to learn about like different engineering aspects, but also like learn about the culture, like got to try new foods. And I highly encourage you guys to like look into a study abroad opportunity at least once and like try scheduling that into your like years in college because we're only going to be like college students for so long until like we have like responsibilities and like only like work days and work days off and just take advantage of like the study abroad opportunities that are given to you.
Ditto. And if you want to talk about that, come talk to Katie or I. We'd love to help you navigate that.
And there are ways to make your financial aid apply for a study abroad. So tons of scholarships available there.
Yes. Also, your schools want you to go to these study abroad opportunities. So they will give you like, there's always options for saying like, if your family like write a little blurb saying like why you can be considered for financial aid, and they will actually consider you. And that's how I was able to go to Japan on a full scholarship, and I didn't have to pay for anything. All I had to pay was for the food. And that's why I think like really researching these things like in the beginning, like in freshman year or just now, is like the best way to go about like if you want to kind of focus on like venturing out like out of state or just out of the country.
Okay. Anything else? You all have your next steps. Monica, Nathan, anything else we want to say before we wrap up, or any last questions from the crew? Thank you for taking the time to do this. I know, especially your freshman year, as you're getting settled, you're like, ugh, last thing I want to do is go sit on a Zoom call. I have all my classes, but hopefully this is worth your time. We're going to have different things and different topics, and we're really happy to continue to work with you. So take advantage of these, and the more of these you show up with, the more time I will give you for one-on-one help. So I am taking attendance. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
just
end-
say,
Go ahead, Monica.
just that like feel free to reach out about any to do things, and have the courage to do something that feels awkward, and do it anyways. And I promise you like good things will come out of it.
That was
Yeah,
great advice.
Paige, maybe if you can just send out my contact info to everyone here in case they want to chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine too.
Okay. I will add that into the chat as well. And then actually, I'm just going to send an email out to the whole group with their contact info, but I did send their LinkedIn pages in your first email. So I'd encourage you all to go add them on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, one last thing before we lose you forever. I just want to end with a quote, an inspirational quote. Okay, no one roll your eyes at me, but this is for all of you, all of our freshmen, all of our students. It says, "You're not lucky. You're good at what you do. The opportunities didn't just fall in your lap. You worked hard for them, and you can do it again." So that's for all of you. We see you. We know you're working so hard every day, and you're showing up for yourself. For our upperclassmen on the call, it is so awesome to see you just transform into these leaders and mentors, and just the voices for our younger students, really giving wise insight and advice. We're super grateful for you, for the panelists, Monica and Nathan, for all the work you put in, and Paige as well. And then for all of our freshmen, we're really proud of you. It's so fun to see you calling in from your dorms, and we're here for you. So please reach out if you need support, and we live for your updates. And I'm expecting some photos of all of you on your campus for our Instagram. So thank you everyone for being here.
Good night, everybody. Get some sleep too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.